I'm Gail Blum, and I'm a nurse, and I want to demonstrate and explain how to put on sterile gloves. Um, I have a table that's not adjustable, but whenever you're when you're having a procedure to do that's sterile, or you're putting on gloves, or putting in a Foley catheter, you need to adjust the height of the table to your length of your arms and your height. And if I were to adjust this table, I would bring it up maybe about 4 or 5 inches. In the literature and textbooks, they say waist level, but people's waists are different lengths and their arms are different lengths, and so you need to have the angle of your hand slightly below your elbow, probably 15 degrees. And normally I would not have on a sweater, but I'm going to wear my sweater today. It's a little bit cool. I suggest that you do not wear a lab coat when you're putting on sterile gloves, and maybe take your watch off so that you can actually be sure that you feel what's touching you. Okay. And so I've chosen an 8, and we'll see if that works for me. Sometimes I can wear a 7.5. So they're labeled left and right, and you want to try to kind of get the crease out. And actually this fold is the inside, and you want to be very careful. And in the procedures, they say if you have a drape, not to touch only within 1 inch of the border. I try very hard not to touch as little as possible on the border. And I'm going to get that. Now anybody, if they understand the sterile technique, they will be able to do any procedure. But a lot of people don't understand sterile technique. If I had a smaller area, and you have to get your paper to lay flat, that's very important. And sometimes I go on the edge and I just kind of iron it a little bit. Just iron it a little bit, and I think it's going to stay flat. So I'm going to get my sleeves pulled up where I can feel. Okay, I'm left-handed, and so I'm going to put my dominant hand on first. And Danny, you might come around here and be able to show what I'm doing. Okay, I will use my non-dominant hand to pick up the left glove. The left glove's here, and if they're folded correctly, then okay, the thumb will be over here. Okay, now I've seen a lot of, I'm gonna talk about the mistakes, because I've seen the students and other healthcare professionals pick up the glove improperly. And I'm going to show you something that you should not do. You should not come down here and touch this paper. Okay, and it's much better to come in here and pick up the cuff. And you get the cuff, and sometimes they stick, and so I'm going to go back over here. And so they stick, and I pick it up and I back up. I've seen a lot of people try to put their glove on over the paper area, and the mistake that they make is they are concentrating on putting their glove, and then they slide it over the paper, and when they do that, they've contaminated it. So you pick it up and you go over. Now, another thing I've seen students do, because they're so concerned, when they pick it up, they've got the tiniest little bit in their hand. Well, you can touch the outside of this area. Now, oftentimes, your The sterile gloves are your pack of procedure, your instrument pack is not packed properly, but I do see that thumb, okay? So now I'm getting a really good grip on this, and I am going to slip my fingers into the proper area before I pull, because sometimes you just end up, and so that rolled on real well. I can go here, and these gloves are a little bit too big for me. 7.5 would have probably been better. Sometimes they roll, if they fit tighter, they roll on the top of the wrist, the top of the hand, and if they do, you cannot consider any of that sterile because it has rolled and it's touched your hand. Okay, now the next thing I do, because I'm going to go under this cuff with my dominant hand, I'm going to try to get under it. Well, what happens oftentimes is that your paper doesn't stay still, and you move your glove a little bit, and we don't want to go off of that. So I'm going to stabilize it with my thumb over here that I've already touched. I'm going to pick this up. I got pretty close to that. I don't want to do that. And so now I'm going to go under here, and it's stuck together a little bit. And I'm going to be very careful. Okay, I'm going to really under here. Okay, and I'm going to lift up. Okay, up and over. I'm not going to put my glove on over there. Now, a lot of people want the thumb out like this so that they will not, they call it hitchhiking. Okay, so my right thumb would go over here. So now, I'm going to put my hand in here, and I'm going to find where they go, and that cuff is rolling, and then I'm going to pull up, and see how it rolled on my hand, and then I let loose. I don't go up like this. And then I have really long arms, but I'm going to have my hands at this angle. I want to show how to remove your sterile gloves. It also is, when you have contaminated gloves, you whether they're sterile or not, you really need to comply with removing them in a way that you don't contaminate anything else. And so this is how you do it, and you get a hold of the cuff, and you put your finger under here, and you roll it inside out. Now, this is something that I do. I ball that old contaminated glove up. I have done it myself, and I've seen other people do it, where a finger of the glove is out, and it can get contaminated material on other things. Then you go underneath the cuff, and now we're going to go over and inside out, and now these gloves can be disposed of properly. Thank you.